we want to explore why English has this global position and what that actually means for you listening right now.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating how one language can link so many different people and cultures. We've looked at the sources, the numbers, and they really do tell a story.
Okay, let's get into those numbers then. I saw something like over 1.5 billion English speakers. That sounds huge.
It is 1.5 billion, maybe even more now. But here's the really interesting part.
Okay.
Only about 400 million of those are like native speakers, born into it.
Wow. Okay, so wait, that means most English conversations globally.
Exactly. They're happening between non-native speakers, people who learned it later. So for you listening, the key takeaway there is probably that it's about connection, about being understood, not necessarily sounding like you grew up in London or New York.
That's a really important point. It lowers the pressure, maybe. It's about effective communication.
Precisely.
So how did we get here? How did English become this linguistic hub? What's the backstory?
Well, if you look back historically, the British Empire is obviously a huge part of the initial spread.
Right, colonialism.
Yeah, their influence across vast territories meant English got planted in many, many different parts of the world. It established a foundation.
Okay, that makes sense for setting the stage. But what about maintaining that? What keeps English so central today? The empire isn't what it was.
True. More recently, the influence of the United States has been enormous. Think about technology, global business, and, media.
Hollywood.
Hollywood's a perfect example. American movies, TV shows, they go everywhere. And they're overwhelmingly in English.
So constant exposure. Even if you're not actively studying, you're hearing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It creates this familiarity. And then there's the tech world.
Yeah. Silicon Valley, Google, Apple, all those big names.
Right. Many of those huge international tech companies, and finance too, often operate internally in English. It becomes the sort of default language for global business in many sectors.
So it's kind of self-reinforcing. Tech and business drive its use, which makes it more useful for people to learn.
You got it. It becomes a language of opportunity, of access to, innovation, global markets.
Okay, so let's bring it down to the individual level. For you listening, how does this global status of English actually show up in everyday life?
Well, travel's a really obvious one. Even just knowing a few basic phrases in English can make a huge difference when you're abroad.
Oh, definitely. Asking for directions, ordering coffee.
Yeah, simple things. I remember being totally lost in rural Japan once, and just being able to ask bus station in English saved me hours.
In there. And okay, beyond travel, what about careers?
Big impact there too. In so many multinational companies, English is the lingua franca. It's the language everyone's expected to use for emails, meetings.
So proficiency can genuinely open up job opportunities you wouldn't otherwise have.
Absolutely. It broadens your horizons in this globalized job market. It's often a listed requirement now.
And then there's the whole world of online information, isn't there?
Oh, massively. Think about online courses, MOOCs, scientific research, news websites, even just forums and social media.
A huge chunk of it is in English.
A vast amount. So knowing English gives you direct access to just this incredible wealth of knowledge and resources that might not be available or available as quickly in other languages.
Right. Okay, so the benefits are pretty clear: travel, career, knowledge access. If someone's listening and thinking, okay, I want to engage more, what are some practical first steps you could suggest?
I always say start small. Don't try to boil the ocean. Maybe learn like 5 new words a day. Or a useful phrase.
Keep it manageable.
Yeah, build that consistency. It makes it feel less like this huge, daunting task.
Yeah. Makes sense. What else, beyond just words?
Immersion helps a lot, even passive immersion. Watching movies or TV shows you enjoy, but in English.
With subtitles first, maybe.
Totally. Start with subtitles in your own language, then maybe English subtitles, then maybe none. It helps your ear get used to the sounds, the rhythm.
And what about actually using it? Speaking or writing? That seems like the scary part for many.
It can be, but it's crucial. Find low-stakes ways to practice. Online forums related to your hobbies. Language exchange apps.
Yeah, places where mistakes aren't a big deal.
Exactly. Just try formulating sentences, even simple ones. It builds confidence.
So the message is really about persistence, about the journey, not aiming for some mythical, perfect English overnight.
Absolutely. It's about continuous learning, continuous improvement. And knowing English really does unlock so many connections with people, with information, with opportunities around the world for you.
That's a great way to put it. And it leaves me with a final thought, actually. Given that most English speakers aren't native speakers and they're all interacting, how do you think English itself might keep changing? Evolving because of all these global non-native interactions.
That's a fascinating question, isn't it? How global usage shapes the language itself. Definitely something to keep an eye on.
Indeed. Well, thanks for this fascinating deep dive today.
My pleasure.